Music is the very backbone of a video game. It sets the atmosphere and tone of the game, it hypes up the player when fighting valiant enemies, and can pretty much make or break a game. If a soundtrack to a game is terrible, then chances are the enjoyment of the game is also going to be quite lackluster. And with Pikmin being the aged franchise that it is, its songs have spread to a good variety of places, both in tone within the music and the games that they have been portrayed in. So these are the top 25 best Pikmin songs throughout the entire franchise. Number 25 from Super Smash Bros. Brawl, it is Nature Sounds. No. Number 25 is actually the bad ending theme from Pikmin 1. Admittedly, it kind of breaks the atmosphere for what's actually going on, considering Olimar is literally dying and has to forever live on this planet, but it's a nice, goofy little track that's kind of enjoyable. It makes such a horrible ending that maybe some kid was kind of afraid of experiencing, considering how tense the game is, and turned it into a nice little thing. It always has a sense of hope and optimism playing through it towards the end, as the Pikmin see that they've created yet another one of them. Maybe the bad ending isn't such a bad ending after all. Number 24 is, again from Pikmin 1, the Creature Montage. This is just a bunch of fun to experience. It comes at the end of the Pikmin 1 game and is your first introduction, if you're playing chronologically, to the actual creatures and their habitats. But this song in general just hypes you up. To just be talking about the characters and seeing screenshots of the things you've already seen and defeated, you'd think that would be a boring concept. But the interesting aspect of it actually having a mini description and this fun little triumphant music playing along the background, it just works nicely to get that sense of, wow, look what I've done. Looking back on yourself in hindsight, seeing all the things you've accomplished and hurdled over. It is also the first time we are introduced to the Pikmin making sounds of the songs themselves. This becomes a slight recurring theme in the later games. It's a little sproutling being planted there. Number 23 is the Night Comes theme. It's played through all of the Pikmin games and is probably one of the most recognisable tracks, but it just works great to encapsulate the end of the day, make you feel like you're finally gathering together, ready to shoot off for the safety of the night. I especially like how the Pikmin 2 versions also had alternative versions based on the amount of productivity you had in the day. It's a nice wrap-up song that really makes you feel like you've accomplished something at the end of the day. Or not. Number 22 is the Pikmin File Select. Again, from the very first game, this just creates that new sense of technology in space. If you're starting a new file, this would be exactly the case. This would be the theme, I guess, of Olimar's ship on the inside. It creates that sense of you're about to explore out into space. And even though you end up just trapped on a planet, it still creates that sense of curious adventure. Though maybe I am thinking into these songs a little bit too much, even still, I find that I really enjoy the File Select theme at times, just because it's a moment to sit back and enjoy how fantasy-like the Pikmin games really are. Next comes from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's the Pikmin main theme version for this game. It creates a nice sense of actual drama and fighting and also triumph. It's something that Nature Sounds from Super Smash Bros. Brawl completely fell flat on. It's nice to finally have a Pikmin track that is well encapsulating of how the Pikmin franchise plays, but also doesn't just make it feel like you're walking around with a bunch of flowers. It's a genuine fighting, tense theme. It's almost got that kind of tribal sound, as if you're about to fight giant things or you're out in the wild. I get a real sense of both triumph and cartoonishness, but also it is a song you can fight to, and that's kind of the main purpose. Number 20 also comes from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's the other Pikmin track. It plays during Olimar's gameplay trailer, and I really like it because, again, it's got the classic motifs, but it also feels even more triumphant and fun to play with. And once again, it works great for a fight. It sounds more fun and cartoony, sure, but it still doesn't seem to underestimate the kind of power that Pikmin has, or at least doesn't make them, again, sound like they are not really fighters. It's fun, but also fun to play and fight with. I don't know how else to describe it, that's all I ask for in these Smash tracks. Next up is the tutorial theme from Pikmin Adventure, the NintendoLand mini-game game. It's a bit of a weird one, and admittedly most of the tracks are just recovers of the older games and their soundtracks, but I like it a lot because this is simply a cover of the Impact site, and it does it in a very toy-like theme. Not necessarily making Pikmin seem weak, but the whole aesthetic of NintendoLand is that everything is a toy, a fun little amusement park that you can play in. This, I believe, is a track that perfectly encapsulates this. It is Pikmin in toy form, and it's quite enjoyable as well. I liked it a lot, not just because I understood the reference, but also it was just fun to play with my little touchscreen gameplay alongside it. Next up from Hey Pikmin, it's the boss theme. And there isn't actually one boss theme, each of the bosses in the game have their own boss theme, but most of them, I would say, kind of line up. I quite enjoy most of them. They all have quite the same orchestral, dramatic feel, but one in particular is the World 4 boss battle. This one has a lot more of a different approach, and this is the one I'm going to highlight for that reason. Again, it has that cartoony feel, but it's still fun. It may be a little bit more on the toy side for an actual Pikmin game, but Hey Pikmin in general is a bit of an oversimplification of the Pikmin franchise. Still, I did quite like this track a lot, and it worked well with the style of the boss theme as well. And I think that's the same with all of the Hey Pikmin boss fights, so that'll be our nice number 18. But speaking of Hey Pikmin, number 17 is the Berserk Hydro. I've gushed about this guy before. He is the final boss of Hey Pikmin, and his theme is amazing. It's full-on dramatic orchestral music. And on top of that, the guy is so crazy big and strong that he has 3 separate phases. And so with that, each one of the tracks has their own phase. And each time just adding more tension and drama, which is pretty much all the track needs to do, but it does a phenomenal job of it. When I was playing against this guy, I was lapping it up. Now apparently I'm not done with Hey Pikmin. Number 16 is the Snowslide moment, or officially the Special Course 4 from Hey Pikmin. This, once again, since it is a Hey Pikmin track, is quite toy-like. It's got a lot of big xylophones playing in it, but still, it worked quite nicely with the moment that happened. In this scenario, Olimar is snowballing down an icy slope, or I guess just a snowy mountain with a bottle cap, whilst dodging all sorts of little obstacles, as well as collecting Sparklium as he goes. And the track just adds to it more, creating that extra sense of, whoa, you're falling down a mountain, it's all goofy. It might not exactly fit with the entire Pikmin franchise as a whole, but I enjoyed this moment at this moment. The track does accommodate for the moment that's going on, and it works with the director's direction for the game. So, I'm going to say I like it that much, so I am going to put it this high on the list. It was good fun, so I might as well say it on this list. For number 15, it is the Bingo Battle theme, particularly the Bingo Battle 2 track. I like it quite a lot because it's a little bit different to the usual Pikmin tracks. It comes from Pikmin 3 and takes place in the more metallic and factory-like levels. It has this extra sort of buzzing sound effect, I guess you could say, in it. It's really interesting as well because it uses the sound effects of just tings and crashes as part of their percussion. It's a nice themed acoustic sound, and it also appears in the Pikmin short movies, so the track can't be that bad officially, can it? But in general, I also just really like how it adds to the atmosphere of these kind of levels. You never see these kind of levels in the main game, so seeing it on this side Bingo Battle concept level worked quite nicely. I thought it worked really nice, and I really enjoyed it. Number 14 is of course the cave results from Pikmin 2. This is just a nice happy track. It is supposed to be that triumphant victory theme that you finally completed a whole cave. Perhaps when you go to the first cave and you've beaten all of Emergence Cave with its whole 3 sub-levels, you might not feel very much. But when you've gone to the whole of Heroes, for example, with its 15 sub-levels, and you finally get to escape with all of your treasure with that real sense of satisfaction, nothing works better than this track. I especially like the little ding ding dong 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 at the beginning. I could have just said percussion, that would sound a lot more professional, but we're going with it anyway. It's just a really nice track that can feel really satisfying after a good long hunt underground. Hello and welcome to the halfway mark. Judging by the fact that you're actually here, I presume you actually quite enjoy the content I'm making, so let me just put in a little plug. Here is my schedule for my Twitch streams. I'm currently streaming 5 times a week, and these are the days and the times, so if you do really like me and the content I create, here is another source of where you can find even more. You can also check out my Let's Play channel where all of these are also posted. It is called Daz Let's Plays, but otherwise, let's get back on with the video. Next up is the world map theme, and I actually had a bit of difficulty deciding which world map theme I liked the best, but I had to go with the original Pikmin 1 just because it has that extra sense of curiosity and exploration to it. It really has that sense of you don't know what's next and you're just up and out exploring this unmanned planet before. It really creates this nice sense of not so much mystery, but much more curiosity and optimism that maybe you will be able to actually get home. You've got all this land to play with, let's go find out what there is. And considering the darker tones of this game, if you really think about it, it's nice to be able to have this friendly, fresh of breath air once you're way above the surface. Speaking of peaceful, next up we have the Garden of Hope from Pikmin 3. This track is just the embodiment of peaceful. Clearly, the Garden of Hope is an early level game, so it is going to be that less tense feeling, but it also is supposed to be a representation of spring, you know? Flowers are coming to bloom, there are butterflies or spectralids everywhere, and it has this really nice tone as the players are getting used to their Pikmin army and growing them slowly. It's just a nice track, and I especially like how in Pikmin 3, and I guess actually it's always been the case, that the track changes over the time of day, with the sunset theme choosing for a more xylophone theme, but keeping of course the actual track. It's just really nice to experience, and I guess that's kind of what I'm here for sometimes. As much as I do love the action and the drama of some bosses, it's nice to just be able to run around a planet and explore and just enjoy myself. Next up is the Treasure Complete results from Pikmin 2. It starts with these triumphant trumpets, really making you feel like you've succeeded in all this treasure collecting, and then it goes into a more somber tone, placed there to be a kind of hindsight moment where you're looking back and seeing all of the work that it took to get to this point. Whether you take this as more victory in working out all the Pikmin you grew, or you see it as a kind of bittersweet moment, thinking of all the sacrifices your Pikmin have made to reach you to this point, either way, it's quite a powerful moment. Whether it is literally just satisfaction, or it is a little bit too twisted and dark, it's a nice track. It was a little confusing for me when I first heard it, but considering it is literally looking at all of your results, it's clear that it is supposed to be a hindsight moment, a moment to sit down and just think. Maybe that's not your kind of thing, but I quite like it. Number 10 is a cutscene soundtrack that I really like. It's from Pikmin 2, and it is when you have completed your debt, because there is that classic moment where Olimar turns around and finds out that Louie is missing. And cue that track that I always play out loud. I just love it so much. The xylophone's playing on that moment of realization, followed by the blaring of the rocket and the soundtrack going back as the reality kicks back in and Olimar is sent light years away. It's just such a powerful moment to me that I always get goosebumps. And it's just a little cutscene track, but God, I just love it so damn much. Number 9 is, of course, coming to people's fan favourite things, and this time it is the Piclopedia from Pikmin 2. Another moment to just sit down and relax. It's just such a great feature, showing off all of the different creatures and things you can interact with, finding out notes and opinions, all the while just getting to relax with this chill music. It's like when you finally find a sub-level in a cave and it's just a relaxation theme. There's no danger, there's no concerns, and there's no stress. You just get to sit back and discover, find out things you didn't know, and just calm down for a moment. And speaking of that moment of rest, number 8 is the rest area. Again, just a little moment to sit down and relax. This was especially more powerful to me because it just flies at you. The Piclupedia you have to actually choose, and you can only access it during the menu when you're in between days. But the rest area just pops up in your lap sometimes. You might have hundreds of Pikmin suffering underground, but then that one level deeper you come to this. Just a moment to catch your breath. It'll have a plethora of candy pop buds and just a brief moment of hope and optimism for you and your squad. It can be such a satisfying blessing when it does just randomly pop up on you. Number 7 is the Forest of Hope from Pikmin 1. This track is a classic. It is one of the first tracks you hear in the game, since it's one of the early areas of the very first game. And it again encapsulates the total atmosphere of Pikmin. It has that sense of optimism and exploration as Olimar tries to save his own life. It's not an intimidating track, it helps the players get into the level and not be too scared to explore. But still, it has that sense of mystery. You don't know what is up ahead. You have no idea what is going to be in front of you. At least if you're a first-time player, and neither does Olimar. This is his first experience on the planet, and this track really fills it. It is literally supposed to be the Forest of Hope, and it's brimming with optimism and curiosity. Number 6, of course, is a step back from that. It is the Impact Site from Pikmin 1, an even earlier track that you are likely to hear. This, again, perfectly creates that sense of the Pikmin Adventure, though it's a lot more toy-like than you'd expect. This has a heavy emphasis on xylophones, but perhaps it's ready to sugarcoat the reality that Olimar is going to die in 30 days, and it really helps the players actually take a step and not just stop playing and have a mental breakdown. Still, it is a nice introductory track, and though Pikmin does have its dark themes, it is quite cartoonish in reality, and this track is a nice opening for it. I imagine many old school Pikmin fans will find this track to be one of the most nostalgic, so it must be doing something right if it really locks onto our memory. Number 5 is the Perplexing Pool from Pikmin 2. This is, again, a nice jolly track for the area that you traverse, and it's particularly different because it's using a piano, which is something I don't think we hear too much in the Pikmin franchise. I don't really know much on music theory, so I don't know if there's a major purpose to it, but the fact that it's such a high-pitched, sort of dinky track is the best way I can describe it. It's really appeasing. Plus, you've still got that extra whimsical instrument on the side showing the vast expanse that is this giant area. But still, it's just a really nice place to be, and I really enjoy this area, 90% of the reason being because of this track. Number 4 is the Final Trial from Pikmin 1. This is the final area of the game, and this track replicates that. It is a nice track for the most part. The flute, or whatever that instrument is quite jolly, but of course the main gimmick is that underlying timpani, or xylophone, really giving that sense of dread. It is Olimar's final trial, and it's not so much happy times anymore, even though it's got that sense of a little bit of both. Number 3 is the Titaned Weevil, and I'm not just choosing this track just because it's a cool boss theme, but because of how interactive it is. The whole Pikmin franchise always has the music assisting with your actions and replicating it in certain ways, but the Titaned Weevil does this to the max. Not just having a main theme, but having a track for all 4 of the different weapons it uses. It's a full experience when you're fighting it, and no track will ever be the same. It's so intense to hear just all the different weapons going at you, that the track literally, I don't think, could be any better. Number 2 is the Water Wraith's pathetic escape. We all know about the Water Wraith and how it is an invincible gelatinous entity of evil, and how you cannot fight against it until the final floor. Well, when you finally do, this track plays when you finally defeat its rollers, finally giving you that sense of superiority that you've been craving the entire sublevel. Having this giant threat suddenly become a little weakling in front of you is so satisfying, and this track really helps to get that sense of victory, because it just sounds so pathetic and so un-Water Wraith-like that the fact that you have led it to get to this point is super satisfying on its own. And number 1 is the mysterious Lifeform theme from Pikmin 3. This plays when the Plasm Wraith is chasing after you. This is just an amazing final battle because it is an invincible gelatinous blob and it's constantly chasing you. The track is super disturbing and unlike most of what we've heard and associated with the Pikmin franchise, and it just adds so much to the moment by being so jarring and genuinely scary. This track does amazingly at what it's supposed to do. It does so good at its job, and it does it in such a well-meticulated way, both on a franchise perspective and how the track actually sounds, that I couldn't say that any other track really deserves as much of a spot as this does for the number 1 best Pikmin song. Of course, this entire list is my opinion, so do be sure to tell me your alternatives, but otherwise I've been rambling long enough and you've heard plenty of songs, so my name's been Daz. You didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. But also do be sure to check out my schedule. I'm streaming 5 times a week now. These are the times and these are the days. Do be sure to check us out if you want to see more of me. Please do. Thank you. Goodbye. Music? Wow, good start. And considering Pikmin has 4 whole Pikmin games, each with their own long, it hypes up the play. I'll try and keep this one quick. Bad ending. Ah, okay. And is probably the most recognizable track. This just creates that sense of kind of... What's the Smash soundtrack? I don't remember it. Number 21 is the main theme from the but also doesn't just make gameplay trailer at the beginning. It plays during Oliver's gameplay. It creates more. It sounds more. Oh, I do have a Pikmin Adventure track. A Pikmin Adventure track. Okay. This, I think, is a track that perfectly... This is tricky. Hey Pikmin boss. Well, great. Still, I did quite this gluttonous... It only helped blob it all. This gigantic blob control. In this scenario, Oliver is snow while dodging all sorts of... as well as collecting... Battle mode. Pikmin 2 battle mode? Pikmin 1 battle mode? I don't know. Battle menu? Not battle menu. I guess it was the Pikmin 3 battle mode? Bingo battle? I can't tell. Battle mode. There's not a battle mode in Hey Pikmin. Why did I only write battle mode? That doesn't tell me anything. It comes from Pikmin 3, so the track can't be that gap. I do really like how it Alright, hold on. There you go. Worked it out. With its 15 sub-levels, I left world map, but I don't know which one I'm referring to. Good job, me. Yeah, we'll go with that. Results/all dead. I don't know what results that is referring to. Results/all dead. No, that's not it. An extinction thing? Ah, that's what they mean. I got it now. The tones that kind of tell you of a hindsight reality. It's just great. You might be suffering You might be suffering for just a moment of breath. It can be us opening for it. Oh, sorry, I am over-talking these, aren't I? Somehow, yes. Oh, well. It's a particularly... You know what, I'm going to flip that round. Number 2 is the Water Wraith's plays when you destroy its oh so glorious. Having this giant entity, having this giant threat finally become your sub, it's a bit more of a jar, but quite enjoy the content I'm making, so let me just put in are the days and the times, and I think also do be sure to look into them if you would like to see a little bit more of me, because hey, I could do with a little more support. That's not a way to phrase it. So if you do actually read, you can also check out my Let's Play channel, Daz Let's Plays. That's literally what it's called on. You can also